Based on the criteria alone, these sites shouldn't be approved. I worked for over 30 years with DFO, and I worked up in the Central Coast, and one of my duties was I had aquaculture finfish farm applications coming across my desk, and so I had to go out and assess these sites in terms of what was where they would be appropriate or inappropriate. When I look at this and look at the criteria, look at the issues that are going on with these two sites, I look at it, I compare it to the criteria, and myself, I wouldn't approve it. And what it tells me is that we want to watch this because I believe the field staff, being technical people, caring about the environment from DFO and the province, they would be looking at this against the criteria, and I don't see how they would approve these two sites. But if these sites are approved, what it tells me is that there's political interference going against what would be sound science-based decision-making on these two sites. Right here is the location of the Bennett Point Atlantic Open Net Pen Farm, and the application is for one here and one here. So you can see this is very, very close. But it's also that you've got all this inlet, Krakow Inlet, that is shallow and rich, and putting a farm here means that the effluent from here is going to be flowing also right down into here. You've got one over here, and you've got a clam bed over here, you've got clam beds in here. Therefore, the effluent from this site is going to flow in both directions with the tide, and it's going to impact this area. And you've got a lodge right in here that has a successful business, and his business could be impacted by 1, 2, 3 aquaculture sites. They're supposed to be at least 3 kilometers apart, so not within 3 kilometers. So, so if they've narrowed that down to 1 kilometer, they obviously are not taking an ecosystem-based approach and considering the cumulative impacts of all this effluent that could be coming from 3 sites in a very small area. And so therefore this is just not appropriate. When we look at the DFO's own criteria for how they're going to judge whether these sites are appropriate for finfish aquaculture, we see a number of things that don't line up. The commercial fishermen, they have a shrimp fishery in there, and they need that turf that is right under these farms. It may wipe out the fishery there, and this is a big part of their business and their income. And so we're talking not just the shrimp fishery, we're talking crab fisheries, the clam fishery as I mentioned, salmon fishery, prawn fishery. So this is a very rich, a lot of shallow areas and so on, and farms generally are located in deeper water. Just south of there we've got the Discovery Islands closed through the Cohen Commission, saying no expansion up until at least 2020 to protect Fraser salmon, because he had a very narrow focus and he couldn't go beyond that. But if it's an issue for Fraser salmon, of course it's an issue for all salmon. And so local salmon migrating and rearing in that area, they need that area, it's important, and we're blindly potentially putting these farms in the path of these salmon. So that's also not appropriate. There's a lot of economy that can be disrupted and is disrupted by this type of activity. It's just inappropriate. These waters, Cleo Channel, the waters around there, this is critical habitat for orca. That's been identified. Besides orca, humpback whales in this area, this is very critical to them. Minke whales. I mean, this is what brings people to this area, is to see these animals in an area where you can actually get out and you're in fairly protected waters, so that you can actually spend some quality time seeing these animals, learning about them and their environment. And we need to be encouraging that type of sustainable activity over something that is putting all those activities and all that wildlife at risk. If you're looking at it from a technical eye, you're just not going to approve these two sites. So it's really key that we look at what is going to be the result. If these sites are approved, we know that there's been political interference into the decision-making process, and that tells us a lot.